Hi, my name is Malini and today I'm joined by Rosalind. We are going to show you how to make lasagna. Lasagna is thin pasta sheets filled with mincemeat and lots of cheese and scrumptious tomato sauce, and it's going to be delicious. And without further ado, we're going to show you how to make it. So in this bowl, I have already 4 cups of plain flour and 1 cup of semolina flour. So the reason why I mixed the 2 flours is because semolina is yellow in color, and it will give the pasta sheets a lovely golden color. And to that we have added 1 tablespoon of water and 1 tablespoon of olive oil and a pinch of salt. Now we make a well in the middle. So we add 6 eggs. We make a well in the middle and we add 6 eggs, but it's always a good idea to crack the eggs into a bowl so we know that if we have a bad one, we don't have to throw the whole thing away. So that one looks fine. Yeah. So now we're going to incorporate it all together, and then we have this work surface which is washed and very clean. We're going to, once it's rolled into a ball, we're going to put it on here and Rosie's going to knead it for 10 minutes. During which time I'm going to show you how to make the filling, which is a mincemeat filling. So here I have a kilo of mincemeat, which only has 5% fat, which is great. But I would also say that if you've got 15% or 20% fat, which it's still better, because lasagna is something that people don't eat on a regular basis. A, because it's difficult, it's not the easiest of pastas to make because you have to layer it and it takes a while, it's time consuming. And secondly, because it has a lot of cheese in it and all the cream, the bechamel sauce has quite a bit of butter in it. So pepper, about 1.5 tablespoons, salt, 1 tablespoon, because we have a lot of meat here. And when you make the tomato sauce, you have to make sure, the trick is to have lots and lots of tomato. Now, to make your life easy, you can always use what I'm doing here, which is jarred tomato sauce, which you can buy from any supermarket. So this one is for a kilo of meat. I have 725 here and another 500, so that's 1 kilo 250 grams and another 250. So I have about 1.5 kilos of sauce, which is essential because it has to be rich in tomato and it has to be rich in olive oil, rich in butter for the bechamel sauce. And then I'm going to incorporate with that, when I fry the meat, 3 peppers. Different colors are nice, you add some color to your food. And then I will also perhaps add half of this chili, but it's only got 2 bars, so it's not very hot. And then anytime you use tomato sauce, it's always good to use a hint of 2 teaspoons of sugar, just to take the acidity off. So here we go. I'm going to add the pepper and then the salt, and I'm going to thoroughly mix this in with a teaspoon of ginger and 2 teaspoons of garlic. You can either use, to make your life easy, you can use the minced garlic. Alternatively, you could peel and chop a bulb. Because there's a lot of meat, a bulb would be reasonably okay quantity. So now I've combined the meat, and now I'm mixing thoroughly the mincemeat, pepper and salt. To that, I will ask Rosie to add 1 teaspoon of ginger and 2 teaspoons of garlic. And I am mixing it thoroughly into the meat. I'm not putting too much of garlic or ginger here because when I fry the onions, I'm going to add a bit more garlic. So next I'm going to peel, cut and chop 4 onions and the 3 peppers and the whole bulb of garlic.
So now I'm going to tip this mixture out onto the table like so. It looks quite crumbly, but basically I'm going to knead it with my hands and it's going to form a dough. The worktop is cleaned and so are my hands. Let's get started. So I've kept at kneading the dough, and my advice is that if the dough seems slightly tough or difficult to knead, then you can totally just add a teaspoon of water at a time to loosen it up. slightly.
So here I have a large pan on the hob. To that I will add about 6 tablespoons of olive oil and about same with vegetable oil. It's because the meat is very low in fat, so I don't want onions because I have quite a lot of onions here. And it does look like a lot, but it does shrink while frying. And I also have the bulb of garlic minced here. Finely chopped, and now it's going into this oil. So now the chopped garlic and the onions are going in the oil. Ordinarily I would add the garlic at the end, but here because the quantity of onions is so huge, I would add it together, otherwise it would start to burn. So I will fry the onions until they are golden brown, and to that I will add the meat and then start adding the sauces one by one, and then I will add 2 teaspoons of sugar. And finally, I will add the chopped peppers, because peppers really don't need cooking because people eat it in salads raw. So I'll add it after I finish cooking the beef, and then when it goes in the oven, it'll have its 10 minutes or 15 minutes of cooking in the oven. The onions have been frying away now for about 6 to 7 minutes, and it's golden brown, to which I shall add the mincemeat from before. It's a lot of mincemeat, 1 kilo, and therefore it was necessary to put all that onions, although it seemed like a lot, it has shrunk while frying. There we go. Once I've mixed this, break up the mincemeat, and once I've mixed it, I'm going to start adding the different tomato sauces that I have, so slightly lower the temperature. And this is just to make your life easy. This one's got a little bit of chili in it. So if you recall, I said I was going to cut a green chili and add at the beginning. I probably wouldn't have to do that now. This one's just tomato, herbs, and I think it's basil, so that one goes in there. This one's tomato and green herbs. It looks like a lot of sauce that's going in here. But trust me, this is essential because when it cooks down and it becomes, it reduces. So I've mixed it and incorporated everything together. And I'll let it cook for about 20 minutes. That's all it takes. And then it's going to cook for a further 40 minutes in the oven. This 20 minutes of cooking is just to reduce the tomato sauce. The mincemeat's been cooking away now for a while, and that should be enough. As I said, anytime you use a lot of tomato sauce, it's good to add a pinch of sugar. Here I have 2 teaspoons of sugar. That's just to cut the acidity of the tomatoes, and it will add to the flavor. And we stir that. And if you remember at the beginning, I put salt to the mincemeat, but with so much of tomato sauce in there and the 6 onions and garlic, we do have to add. You can taste it. I'm going to just taste the sauce now. Yes, you can do with a tiny bit more of sugar, of salt. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit more of salt to taste, and stir that all together. And finally, I will add the peppers, which I've finely chopped. Combine that, heat off, and then we close it and set it aside and divert our attention to the dough and the bechamel sauce.
So now the dough is back out of the fridge. I've rolled it into a sausage shape, and the next thing that I'm going to do is divide it into some equal pieces. I reckon I could do maybe 5 or 6. I'm just going to cut like this. So now that the dough is in 6 equal pieces, what I'm going to do is just move them aside, take one piece, and what I have to do with this piece is roll it out into a flat piece. And because the worktop can get a little bit sticky, I'm just going to dust it with a little bit of plain flour, just like that. Put down the dough and use my trusty rolling pin to roll it out.
So while Rosalind's rolling out the dough to make the lasagna sheets, I'm going to show you how to make the bechamel sauce. Bechamel sauce is plain flour roasted, then you add the butter, and once it's melted, once the butter is melted, you add milk and some cream. In this case, I'm adding some cream just to make it rich, and then 1.5 teaspoons of ground nutmeg and 1.5 teaspoons of just English mustard. And then we make the lovely rich sauce. Here I have 1.25 cups of flour. I have to keep on roasting it until it turns ever so slightly golden. And then I will add 200 grams of butter. It seems like a lot of butter, but trust me, you do need it to make the lasagna lovely and scrumptious. So at the moment, I'm just going to keep roasting this until it's slightly golden. So the flour here is now slightly changed color. So to that I will add 200 grams of butter and mix it through until the butter is melted and incorporated with the flour. So now I switch my spoon to a whisk, because we have to now start whisking the milk and the cream into the bechamel. So here I have 800 ml of milk, which goes in. You will see it doing that, but don't worry. You have to just continue to whisk it. So I've been whisking it now for about a minute or so, and you can see how it's thickened and it's become more like a sauce consistency. At this point, I'm going to add 200 ml of single cream, just to give it that depth of flavor. And now I will add 1.5 teaspoons of nutmeg. It seems like a lot, but it's not. And I will also add 1.5 teaspoon of English mustard and combine everything together. And in case you had used unsalted butter, you can add a little bit of salt, because remember there's a cup and a quarter of plain flour which has to be seasoned. So you can taste it if you like to see. Yeah, this one too can do with a little bit of salt, so I'm just going to do it about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So that's your bechamel sauce ready. On a usual school week for Rosie, it would be ballet dance on a Monday, and then another ballet dance on a Thursday, and Tuesdays she has tap dance and jazz dance, and then on Saturdays she has tennis. So with the lockdown, everything is on hold. So I guess rolling these pasta sheets gives her a little bit of exercise, if nothing else. Would you agree, Rosie?
Yeah, I know for sure it's really difficult actually.
But it is fun. Just think of it as exercise.
Yeah.
So Rosie's now rolled out all the sheets. She's got 2 more here, which she will do, and then we'll cut it to shape. In fact, because we have the 2 glass dishes, so we can see the beautiful layers of pasta and the meat sauce and the bechamel, we could sort of try and keep it in these odd shapes and see how well it'll fit. So we don't have to necessarily cut it into those rectangular shapes.
So now I'm down to rolling the last piece of pasta dough, and as you can see here, my mum has been cutting them into shape once they're flat enough.
Yeah, so I've left these funny shapes here, the curved shapes, only because I have dishes which are round edged, so we can use these. And these are cut into rectangular pieces. And I'll show you how to cut these. I think we'll have to throw the fragile bits on the edge. So using the back of your knife so you don't damage your work surface, you go like that. And then again, down the middle. So remember, it's the back of your knife. And then again like that. And you can cut this into perhaps neat square bits. And pieces like that, don't throw it because you might have tiny gaps you might want to fill with that. And so now we're getting very close to finishing, which means that we have our meat filling here, our bechamel sauce there, and Rosie's going to grate the rest of the cheese, and our pasta sheets are made here. So we're going to have an assembly line and start layering the lasagna.
Okay everybody, I'm back. I've just got done grating the rest of this cheddar cheese. As you can see in the recipe, I'll also be using this bag of grated mozzarella and also some parmesan, some hard cheese. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to open and cut this fresh mozzarella. I think it's suspended in milk or something. So the first step actually is to cut the package carefully, don't let this spill. And I have to take this over to the sink and drain out the excess liquid. Okay, so here I have the cooked meat filling, some bechamel sauce, an assortment of cheeses. We have some parmesan, fresh mozzarella, grated mozzarella and cheddar cheese. I've set up 3 glass dishes, and from here we're going to have an assembly line to put together the lasagnas.
Yes, Rosie's right. We're going to now assemble it. That's the easiest and the fun part of it. So do get your children involved in this process. It's time now to start the oven at 180 degrees C. Just to get the oven heated up. And here we have the lasagna sheets, and also should remember to mention I have some dried rosemary, bit of coriander and some paprika, which I will sprinkle on the lasagna sheets just to give it that Italian authentic flavors. So first we'll put a little bit of the sauce from the meat for the bottom. Make sure that it meets the ends of the dish like so. I'm using glass dishes so that we can see the layers once it's all beautifully built up, and even when you're slicing it, it looks better presented in glass dishes. But if you don't have one, and if your oven dish is ceramic, that's perfectly fine too. So like that. Okay. And then we'll put the lasagna sheets. So it's just as well that I kept the oddly shaped ones, because as you can see, because these dishes are oval shaped, we do have to try and fill these small gaps, which we can do with those tiny pieces I have over there. So here we go. Or actually that one might be better off turned the other way. Okay. And then I will fill the gaps with these small pieces. And the reason why I made the bechamel sauce lovely and creamy and with less flour is because you have this layer of pasta sheets anyway, and that's a lot of dough in your lasagna. So having that in a nice consistency with less flour and more cream is a good idea. Okay, so to this I will sprinkle just a tiny bit of rosemary. We are going to be doing several layers, and we are going to be sprinkling all these herbs, so just a tiny bit, and then a tiny bit of paprika, and that's smoked paprika. You can leave this one out if you don't like the smoked flavor. Okay, and now goes the bechamel sauce, which Rosie's going to do. We'll need a spatula to spread it. Okay. You can be generous and put a large spoon of it. You can put it in the middle and I'll spread it. Okay, and now this one. That smells really lovely already. Okay, so that's our first layer, and we have several more layers to build. So we have to be generous with our bechamel sauce, because that's like, it holds everything together. Next is cheese. If Rosie can put the mozzarella. We have several layers, so we're just going to sprinkle cheese. but do a generous layer of cheese, because once it's all cooked and it's bubbling, and when you cut it into layers, it's going to look really beautiful, and it's going to taste amazing as well. And as I said, you know, this one is just as a treat. You wouldn't eat it on a daily basis. So make it scrumptious, make it delicious, make it fun for kids to eat. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of the hard cheese as well. It has a saltiness and it roasts really well in the oven. So now we put a layer of the meat filling. So I'm putting the meat in the second one. And because it's a lockdown, it's just the 4 of us in the house, and anytime I cook large quantities like this, it doesn't go to waste, because we just refrigerate it and eat it over the next 2 or 3 days. Because we can't even share food, unfortunately. So, and I'm not used to cook small quantities. I'm just used to cook a lot, and I usually have about 10 or 15 people around our table. So that's the first layer, and then we go back to the layering the pasta sheets. Yes. And this is just the second layer, and we have a few more to go. So we've got to a point where this one is now done, because you can see this one's shorter, this one's kind of medium height, and that's the tallest. So we're going to carry on doing the layers on this one. We're going to stop there, and we shall add the top layer, which is cheese. And we'll also put some of this Parmesan cheese, grated Parmesan. That'll roast it on the top. Now this one is now ready for baking, and we're going to continue building up the large one.
Now the lasagnas are fully assembled. These are going to bake in a 180 degrees Celsius oven for about 40 minutes.
Yes. So I'll put the 2 large ones in, and Rosie can do the small ones. While the lasagna is cooking in the oven, which will take about 40 minutes, I'm going to just make a very quick leafy salad using some iceberg lettuce, some romaine lettuce, and some flat leaf parsley. It's a herby pasta salad with some beetroot and some mint to go with the lasagna. So I have the iceberg lettuce going in the bowl. I could have layered it, but it really doesn't matter. You just put that first. Then the beetroot on top, like so. And remember, I chopped up a large green chili, but it's not very hot. So that goes on top. Last but not least, it's mint. It smells amazing. It'll give it a nice fresh look, and just toss it like that. And then to that, I will just add the juice of half a lemon. And I will add a little bit of olive oil. So that's a tablespoon of olive oil. And a tablespoon of vinegar. Here I'm using an apple cider vinegar. You can use any vinegar you have. Once that's added, you can toss it again with your hands, like so. And it's good to have a salad, only because lasagna is very rich. It's got lots of calories. You know, it's just a treat for the children and for ourselves. And it's nice for you to have an accompaniment where you're not going to stop and look at the kids enjoy the lasagna, so you have your salad. And of course, you'd like to encourage your kids to have a salad as well. So once you've served it, you can drizzle a little bit of the salad cream, if you like, on top.
Finally, the lasagnas are done. We just took them out of the oven and now it's time to plate up.
Yes, so we are in lockdown, so it's just the 4 of us for dinner. Moment of truth. So what we're aiming to see are the layers, the different layers. Not sure how this comes out. I think I might need, there we go.
Wow.
That looks good.
Now that
There we go.
looks quite epic.
Rosie, do you want to taste it and tell me what it tastes like? I'm not a great meat eater.
Oh yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
very
I'm
little at this.
so down to try this. It just looks extremely hot. I may have to be careful.
And you do have to encourage your children to have some salad. I hope I've inspired you to make your own lasagna, and I've taught you a few little hints and tricks as to how to make the process a lot easier than it would be normally. And if you enjoyed watching this video, I would love for you to donate what you can, or as much as you can, or even just £1 to the NHS, who are doing a great amount of work every day while we stay in the house, keeping ourselves safe. They are a group of people who are working every day, holding the hands of those who are losing their lives. And no matter how much of applauding we do on a Thursday, it just wouldn't outweigh the amount of work they do. So please donate, please give. And thank you for watching.